The Reluctant Alpha Billionaire. Don't forget to hit a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your support. Chapter 1. The Inheritance. Prologue. A grand estate on the outskirts of New York City, surrounded by miles of forest and perched high on a cliffside. The Hawke family legacy stretches back centuries, an old bloodline that rules over one of the most powerful werewolf clans in the world. Alexander Hawke stared out over the sprawling estate, his thoughts clouded with unease. At 35 years old, he had built his own multi-billion-dollar empire in the human world, using his brilliant mind and cold, calculating nature. But his family's legacy, one of power, tradition, and responsibility, was a burden he'd never wanted. His father, Alpha of the Hawke Pack, had passed away unexpectedly, leaving Alexander with the decision he hadn't asked for: take over as Alpha or watch everything his family had built crumble. But Alexander wasn't interested in pack politics or ancient traditions. He had spent years distancing himself from the world of the pack, preferring the security of the business world, where logic reigned and emotions could be left behind. Yet, as the bloodline's heir, Alexander was bound by duty, his claws itched, his wolf prowling just beneath the surface, ready to take control. "You must come back to the pack," Alexander, his mother, had pleaded during the reading of the will. "The clan needs you." Alexander had made no promises. He didn't need to. The weight of their eyes on him was enough to remind him of the heavy responsibility he never asked for. Chapter 2. The Journalist. Setting. A small, dimly lit apartment in the heart of the city, a sharp contrast to the luxury of Alexander's life. Here, Katherine Sinclair, a passionate investigative journalist, sat hunched over her laptop, reading through articles on the mysterious Hawke family. She had spent weeks gathering information on Alexander Hawke, the reclusive billionaire whose family had ruled the shifter community for decades. Hate's latest investigation had led her to uncover something disturbing: rumors of a dark family secret tied to Alexander's inheritance. The whispers spoke of a power struggle, a betrayal, and a forbidden love affair that had threatened to tear the pack apart. Hate had never been one to shy away from danger, and she could already feel the pull of the mystery surrounding the Hawkes. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The next morning, she walked into the Hawke estate under the guise of a business interview. But her real purpose was to get close to Alexander Hawke and dig deeper into the secrets that lurked within his family. The moment Kate laid eyes on him, her breath caught. Alexander was tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through her. His presence was magnetic, and despite his disheveled appearance, dressed in a casual suit, his tie hanging loose around his neck, he exuded power. She had heard the rumors about his cold, aloof personality, but when their eyes met, she felt something else. He studied her for a moment before speaking. "Miss Sinclair, I assume you're here for the interview." His voice was deep, like velvet, but there was an edge to it that made her heart race. Kate smiled, forcing herself to stay calm despite the sudden surge of heat that rushed through her. "Yes, Mr. Hawke, I've heard a lot about you and your family's legacy." Chapter 3. The Game Begins. As the interview progressed, Kate could see the tension in Alexander's demeanor. He was skilled at hiding his emotions, but she could tell there was more to him than the cold billionaire persona he projected. The more she asked him about his family's history, the more guarded he became. He was hiding something big. Kate wasn't deterred. She knew there was more beneath the surface, something dangerous and dark. That night after the interview, she returned to her apartment and reviewed her notes. A small piece of paper tucked in the corner of her desk caught her attention. It was a cryptic message she had found during her research. "The true Alpha never seeks power. He is born with it." She froze, the words ringing in her ears. Could it be that Alexander was the one destined to lead the pack, but didn't want to? Chapter 4. The Forbidden Touch. Days passed, and Kate found herself at the Hawke estate more frequently. Each visit felt like a step closer to unraveling the mystery, but also a step closer to something else, an undeniable attraction to Alexander that she couldn't shake. One evening during a private dinner at the estate, they found themselves alone in the grand dining hall. The air between them was thick with tension, their shared glances charged with something deeper than curiosity. Kate pushed her feelings aside. She wasn't there to fall in love, but Alexander wasn't making it easy. "You're not like the others," he said suddenly, his voice low. "You don't seem afraid of me." Kate met his gaze, her heart racing. "I'm not afraid of you, Mr. Hawke," she said. "I'm just trying to understand you." There was a long pause, and then, before she could react, Alexander stood up abruptly and walked toward her. She could feel the heat of his presence like a physical force. He stopped just inches from her, his eyes dark with something she couldn't quite place. "What if you don't like what you find?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Before she could respond, Alexander cupped her face in his hands, pulling her toward him. The moment their lips touched, everything around them seemed to vanish. She forgot about her investigation, about the secrets, about the danger. All that mattered was the heat between them, the pull of something that neither of them could deny. Chapter 5: Secrets Unravel. In the days that followed, the sexual tension between them grew, but so did the danger. Kate's investigation had uncovered a long-forgotten pact within the Hawke family, a pact that involved the sacrifice of the Alpha's mate in order to secure the clan's rule. Alexander was the key to breaking the curse that had haunted his family for generations. But in order to take his place as Alpha, he had to sacrifice his one true love. Kate was torn. The deeper she fell for Alexander, the more dangerous the situation became. If she stayed, she risked losing herself to the darkness that lurked in Alexander's world. If she left, she risked losing the only chance at real love she'd ever known. Chapter 6: The Reluctant Alpha's Choice. One night, Alexander took Kate to the cliffs behind the estate. Overlooking the forest where his family's pack resided, the moonlight bathed them in silver, and the cold wind whispered secrets in the trees. This was it, the moment when everything would change. "I can't do it," Alexander said, his voice breaking. "I can't lead them. I can't live with the blood on my hands." Kate reached out and touched his arm, feeling his muscles tense beneath her fingers. "Then don't. You don't have to be the Alpha. You just have to be you." Alexander turned to her, his eyes full of sorrow. "I can't be who you want me to be, Kate. I'm too dangerous. I can't let you get too close." Kate stepped forward, closing the distance between them. "I'm not afraid of you, Alexander. I love you." For the first time, Alexander allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was another way. Chapter 7: The Choice. In the end, Alexander made a decision. He didn't have to follow the path laid out for him by his ancestors. He chose love over legacy, Kate over the pack, and with that choice, he set in motion a revolution in his family's world. Survived that all. As Alexander and Kate stood together on the cliff's edge, watching the rising sun, they knew that the future was uncertain, but for the first time they were ready to face it together. Chapter 8: A Dark Revelation. Setting. The Hawke family estate is cloaked in darkness, the towering mansion looming like a fortress. Deep within its stone walls, Alexander grapples with a decision that could shatter everything he's ever known, despite his longing for peace with Kate, the shadow of his past, and the blood debt tied to his family. Alpha line threatens to pull him back. The following days were filled with tension. After the moment on the cliff, Alexander couldn't stop thinking about Kate's words. His wolf, wild and untamed, still roared within him, craving dominance, yet Kate's soft touch and unflinching trust began to tether him. But the threat of his legacy, the very thing he'd spent years running from, was now more real than ever. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Alexander found himself staring at the family crest, an ancient symbol that had been passed down through the generations. The weight of it was suffocating. His wolf was in turmoil, responding to the call of the pack, but Alexander was torn. Should he give in to the bloodline, the power, the curse, or could he defy centuries of tradition for a life with Kate? Just as he was lost in thought, a knock at the door interrupted him. It was Kate, standing there in a rain-soaked coat, her eyes filled with determination. He felt an instant pull, but there was something else in her gaze, a quiet fear. "Katie," he started, his voice thick with emotion. "What are you doing here?" Kate stepped into the room without hesitation. "I couldn't stay away," she said, her voice trembling but strong. "I found something, Alexander, something about the pact your family made." Her words sent a chill through him. "What do you mean?" Kate handed him a worn leather-bound book, the edges frayed with age. "It's a journal from your great-grandfather. It details the origins of the curse. The pact your family made wasn't just to bind the Alpha to the pack. It was a sacrifice. Your family promised that the Alpha would give up their mate to solidify their rule." Alexander's eyes widened in disbelief as he flipped through the pages. Each entry was written in a frantic, trembling hand, but one entry stood out. "The Alpha must choose power or love. The price of defiance is death. Only one can survive, mate or pack." The words hit him like a ton of bricks. He felt the world spinning beneath him, as though the walls of the estate had begun to close in. The pact, the curse, the lineage, it was all real. But more than that, he now understood that Kate's life, his love, was on the line. "I didn't want you to get hurt," he said, his voice hoarse. "You're in danger now, Kate." Kate's face softened, but she didn't step back. Instead, she walked closer to him, her gaze steady. "If this is true, if the pack has always demanded the sacrifice of the Alpha's mate, then you need to stop it. You can't let it continue." Alexander could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders. It wasn't just a choice between power and love anymore. It was about survival. His family's dark secret had reached its boiling point, and now the one thing that had always eluded him, the choice of his own fate, was right in front of him. "I will stop it," he said, his voice firm. "I won't let anyone take you from me." The storm outside raged as if the heavens themselves were mirroring the turmoil inside the mansion. Kate's presence grounded Alexander, but the pull of his alpha blood was stronger than ever. The pack was restless, demanding a leader, a decision. His wolf clawed at his insides, ready to take charge, to claim what was his. But for the first time in his life, Alexander knew he wasn't just a pawn in a larger game. He was the one who would rewrite the rules. "I'm going to need your help, Kate," he said, his eyes burning with determination. "This goes beyond my family, the pact. It's not just about me, it's about the entire pack. I have to break it." Kate nodded, her hand resting on his chest. "Whatever it takes, Alexander." "I'll be here." Setting. Later that night, Alexander took Kate to the hidden chambers beneath the mansion. The walls were lined with ancient relics and relics of the Hawke lineage. The air was thick with the scent of history, and the weight of the past pressed down on them as Alexander led Kate to an old stone altar. This was where the Alpha was chosen, where the pact had been sealed generations ago. "I've never brought anyone here," he confessed, his voice low. "This is where it all began." Kate stepped forward, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings on the altar. "We need to destroy the pact," she said softly. "You can't let this curse control your life." As they stood there, Alexander felt the full force of the decision before him. To shatter the pact was to defy his ancestors, to break a centuries-old chain that bound the pact's fate. But with Kate by his side, he felt a strength he hadn't known he possessed. "Tonight everything changes," he said, his voice resolute. Chapter 10. The Alpha's Challenge. The night passed in tense silence as Alexander and Kate prepared for what lay ahead. By dawn, the mansion was quiet, but the pack was gathering. They could feel the disturbance in the air, The Alpha was about to make his choice. Alexander stood before the pack, his wolf rising within him. The transformation was painful, but necessary. He could feel the tension in the air as the pack members stood in a circle, their eyes fixed on him. And then there was the challenge. An older, rival member of the pack, Derek Blackthorne, stepped forward, eyes full of contempt. "You will never be Alpha, Alexander. You can't escape the pact." Alexander's wolf snarled beneath his skin. This was it. The moment to prove who he truly was, but Kate's voice, soft but unwavering, reached him from the edge of the circle. "You don't have to fight alone." Her words gave him strength. With a growl, Alexander stepped forward, his transformation complete. His fur glistened beneath the moonlight, and his eyes glowed with raw power. He was the Alpha. In the fight that followed, Dick charged, but Alexander was faster. He was not fighting for dominance over the pack. He was fighting for freedom, for his future with Kate. The fight was brutal, but in the end, Alexander stood victorious. The pack's cries of submission echoed through the trees, but it wasn't the triumph of power that Alexander felt. It was the realization that he had done what he had to. He had freed himself from the chains of his inheritance. As the pack backed down, Alexander's wolf settled. The beast within him growled in satisfaction. But Alexander's eyes found Kate standing at the edge of the clearing, her face illuminated by the soft moonlight. Kate walked toward him, her eyes filled with admiration and something deeper. Love. Might of it, Kate. "Is it over?" she asked, her voice soft but full of hope. Alexander nodded, his heart beating fiercely in his chest. "It's over." Epilogue. A new beginning. The days that followed were filled with change. The Hawke pack was reborn under Alexander's leadership, but this time it was different. There was no need for sacrifice, no need for darkness. Under Alexander's rule, the pack would evolve, and they would be free. And as for Alexander and Kate, they had forged their own path, no longer bound by the expectations of a past that didn't fit them. They walked forward into the future, hand in hand, knowing that together they could face anything. The Reluctant Alpha had finally embraced his true calling: to love, to lead, and to live freely.